So I'm Liberty Hart. You know me as one of the hosts.
I'm Josh Hart. You know me as one of the other hosts. Yes. So, esteemed colleagues and guests, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm Merrie Destefano. I sound fancier than I really am because look at my office. I'm a USA Today bestselling author. I write horror, science fiction, fantasy. My stories tend to be dark, but there's a thread of hope. So that's my basics. Hey.
Yes.
Jason?
So I'm Jason C. Joyner, and I'm a young adult author. I've got a superhero trilogy. The first book in it is award-winning, and I'm also write some sci-fi as well.
Yep.
And I'm JJ Johnson. I am the author of the Iggy and Oz series, which is a middle grade series that's pretty much written for reluctant readers.
Well, welcome everybody. Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Welcome everybody. So today on the show we are talking about Kickstarters. All three of these individuals have done some number of Kickstarters. I think Merrie has the most, probably.
That's right.
And I always see her on social media having
I'm
this
a
Kickstarter.
blabbermouth on social media. Yeah.
Yeah, but all three of these individuals have had successful Kickstarters, including Jason running his first one right now, I believe.
Running right
So,
now as we
yep,
speak.
as we speak.
Mhm.
So we brought everybody on to talk about Kickstarters and how you can use these in your author career. So why don't we go around the table? We'll start with Merrie again. Why don't you guys tell us about who you are as an author, which kind of I've already covered. How many Kickstarters have you done, and how quickly have you funded them?
I've done two. I'm in the process of building my third. Funding tends to go pretty quickly because most people set funding low. So I need my hand gesture. For me, I generally set my funding at $500. So I think my first Kickstarter funded maybe in a day or two. I don't remember. My second one was 30 minutes. So it just depends on. One thing I love about Kickstarter is you build your audience. And so my first one had 77 backers. My second one, I think I had 177. So it tends to build. It's really good. I'm just going to talk about Kickstarter for a short minute. It's a really good contrast to like releasing on Amazon. It's really good if you write series or whatever you do. So what I've seen happen on Kickstarter is the first book, you're getting to know your audience, you're meeting your people, your backers. You actually can develop a nice relationship with your backers and incorporate them into your mailing list. But the first one will do like level. Then the next one, which is the second book, and traditionally on any platform, I've always seen the second book sales less. On Kickstarter, sales are better the second one. So you're selling your second book, but you're also selling your first book because people missed it. So with Kickstarter, the sales incrementally go upward, which I do not see in general on the other platforms. And it's also becoming the way to launch books. And it was kind of indie authors doing it, and now traditional authors are getting into it. And authors that I know in the Kickstarter group that I'm in, one just passed 100,000, the other one just passed 200,000. Now they're popular authors, but they're indies. That's a nice launch.
Yeah.
I've never done that for a launch. I usually lose money on a launch. So I think I answered your question. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
everybody Everybody worries about that. We all worry that we're going to, because it's so, you're so visible. It's not like a sneaky, like, oh, I released a book when nobody was looking. It's like, no, everybody's watching. And you're like, so it's embarrassing. There are groups of people in different, Facebook groups particularly, that will help you. And it's important to have people help you. Right now, I have an author friend who's, we have 2 campaigns that are going to be releasing around the same time, March, and mine's either going to be September or October. And so we're brainstorming every single thing we're doing for our campaigns together. And it really helps.
Yeah.
And I just thought I might go back a little more basic, because if I know some people, it's like, oh, you're running a Kickstarter. And I say, do you know what Kickstarter is? And they're like, no, I don't really know.
Yeah.
And so if you're kind of got this far and you don't know, good on you. So Kickstarter is a crowdfunding site, and what it is people will come out with all sorts of different projects. It may be books, comic books, board games, inventions. There's lots of different things that have come out on Kickstarter, and you'll say, hey, I am looking for backers to help me bring this project or product to market. And by you agreeing to fund me, you will get either early access or extra bonuses for doing it. And you set a goal. And like Merrie said, starting out as an author, it's kind of conventional wisdom to start low. And I started at 500 as well. And then you don't get money unless you hit that reward, if you hit that goal. So if the campaign ends and I set the goal for 500 and I got 499, well, nobody gets anything, and the people don't lose their money, but I don't get money as an author. So thankfully I funded in 2 hours, and plug, mine is still running right now, so you can go find mine. Look for the book series. Thank you. Rise of the Anointed Young Adult Superhero Series. It's running through February 1st. So if you listen to this before February 1st, 2024, come join the fun. Yeah, the books will get out. So yeah, it's my first Kickstarter, but JJ and I and our friend Steve Raza are already planning a Kickstarter. We wrote kind of a crossover book between our characters and worlds, and it's just a real fun mashup of zaniness. And as we were writing this story, JJ's all of a sudden texts our group chats like, "I'm sorry, guys, I had to do it," and we're like, "Oh no, what did he do?" Oh, he did that. So we're going to put a Kickstarter out for that, hopefully in May. So we're starting to plan that, even as I'm in the tail end of mine.
So you have another one? You have another one you're getting ready to do too?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. So yeah, and it's my story is that my series originally published with a small publisher, and COVID happened, and just like a lot of things, just the way COVID hit businesses and things, they ended up closing. It's too bad. And I got the rights back, and it's like, okay, I needed to have new covers, I need to have new interiors. So it's like, this is helping me fund that money. So instead of me putting all of the money up front as an author and then putting out for sales, and then like Aaron said, one sale on Amazon, crickets, wait. And now I've got 47 backers. I've got I got a bunch of people I know are going to get the story, and I've got money now. I'll have money to help finish paying off the investments, and have stock going forward.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about this whole thing is, because a lot of us, I'd like to say, because Liberty, Josh, and Jason, and Steve, and a bunch of us, we're in a mastermind group today. So, when I put my Kickstarter out last year, this was actually book 4 in my series that I did the Kickstarter for. Now, book 1, and I had a lot of success, partly getting into the school systems. And getting sales when I go on school visits and things like that. The thing about those school visits is sometimes they buy the book because the author's coming. And they're also they're not the ones following you on social media and things like that. It's their parents. So being able to capture newsletters and email addresses and things like that is very challenging at times. So I was like, okay, I've had a lot of sales, but I don't know if I have a lot of fans that are following me over here. How am I going to successfully launch this Kickstarter? And so with Kickstarter, you can do a lot of things. You can bring your author community together to help you launch this. You can bring friends and family together. You can bring actual fans together. And I think for me, it was just confirmation that, hey, I can actually get this out and make a profit. If I had launched, I think I launched, and with middle grade, I only set like a 750 goal. I think I funded in like 4 hours. And I only did it with like 35, 36 backers, something like that. I didn't have a ton of backers, but I had a goal and I met every single one of my goals. But the thing about it is, if I had launched that book on Amazon and tried to make my money back, I would have had to sell probably 5 times as many copies just to be able to have a return on my investment. So the thing about Kickstarter is it allows you to hit that ROI a lot quicker with a lot less backers than if you just launch a book on Amazon, Kobo if you're wide or any of that stuff like that. So I think for me, it was a major learning experience, and I quickly emailed Jason and I said, okay, here are about the 400 things I did wrong that you need to avoid. But I just think it allows you to and it's fun when you go to start fulfilling your Kickstarter as well. And we can talk about that later because that's a whole different animal altogether than just running the Kickstarter, because you got the running the Kickstarter, you get the marketing Kickstarter, and then you're like, oh man, now I have to actually do the business work to fulfill this Kickstarter. And that's a whole different mindset. So I enjoyed it. I'm excited about what Jason and Steve Raza and I are going to do with our crossover novel, because I think between Jason and myself, we've learned everything not to do. Or at least we have a decent list of mistakes to avoid, and we'll probably come up.
More.
I'm sure we'll find about 50 more mistakes we make in this next Kickstarter. But that's the thing is
fine.
I think it just everybody I've seen run a Kickstarter has been able to fund very, very well and get it out. And I think it's just a confidence booster, because here's the deal. It's not just launching a book for the first time. Jason is doing a relaunch of a book. All right. And he's having probably more success with this relaunch than he had with his original launch. Now, I don't know if he'll agree with that. I'll go out on record and say that, but you can do this to kind of relaunch some of your backlist as well, as an author, and kind of do some unique things. So, yeah, I like Kickstarter. I think it's the way to launch books. I do not think that the market has got to a point to where it's oversaturated. I still think yeah, and we can talk about that a lot more in detail. I don't think we're there yet. Just my personal opinion.
Okay. So,
I just Mhm. No, you want your campaign to have value. Yeah, you want your
Yeah.
campaign to have value. So if you set it too low, even like $200, it doesn't have value. 500 seems to be a pretty good mark, because
Yeah.
you're pretty sure you're going to hit it. Now, the campaigns you see that have a high amount, like $10,000 or $6,000, they're not printing the way I'm printing. I'm printing POD, which means each book has a set price and a set. Now, shipping price is pretty set depending on where they live. So the price is set. It doesn't matter how many I sell. My cost won't go down. But other people, that if they say they need $10,000 as their funding price, they're probably having their books printed in China. So for them to offer all the bells and whistles, which are, double-sided, dust jacket, foil, where you open up the book and you've got a map on the first 2 pages, the end pages are both been printed, or Smith sewn. All that stuff is not done POD. It's not done at Kickstarter. It's not done on Ingram. You have to go to China. So that's a whole other animal. And I don't have what do you want to call it? The spoons. I don't have the spoons for that. So
I think with those, you're seeing like when Brandon Sanderson does his leather bound copies and things like that. I would tell people, and this is just me, my personal opinion. If you're an indie author and you're running a Kickstarter, I don't think that's the way to start out doing Kickstarters, because you have to have, in order to hit those numbers, and justify the cost, you have to have a decent following already.
Right.
Now, there are
Right.
some indie authors that certainly
Yeah.
can go out there and do it right out of the gate. But if you're an indie author, I would suggest look at the price of your cover. Most covers are between $400 and $800, give or take. Some get up to $1,000, but you can get a decent cover for your book for around $500. Set your book for your funding for $500. That's a decent value. I think anywhere between 500 and probably 800 is a really good target number, in my opinion.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
And I talked about, having to relaunch my books. I mean, I paid for the first cover up front. So I had something, good to show people. It's like, hey, guess what? This is what's going to look like. And I commissioned some art from a comic book artist. So yeah, there were costs up front for sure. But now, I've met those costs, plus, going into, the covers for books 2 and 3 are covered. Interior designs covered. Of course I want to, I'd like to, get some profit and, hopefully get a little bit to fund, things going forward. But I'm pretty comfortable so far, but definitely Kurt would like to see a little more.
Yeah, I was going to say that in general, might need to be a very popular author to make a lot, like Brandon Sanderson, to get it $1 million or whatever. But then I'm not going to get there. But there are authors that are friends of mine that they can do a bang up job on their first campaign if they hit that right market. And usually it's fantasy combined with romance, just romance. So, we're not going to talk about that because I'm talking about the steamy stuff. But if it's fantasy and you're doing the bells and whistles, I have friends that they did like for 20,000, 25, 26. That's a good campaign to me. But another way that you can do it, if you're, say, you guys have done a couple of campaigns and you see your numbers steadily go up, at that point you can say, I do want to get my book printed in China, but you can hire a fulfillment company. And there are fulfillment companies where the books would go directly to them and they handle all the back end, which it's the part that makes me cry. The fulfillment is a part where I'm like, I hate my life.
What I get to look forward to.
Yeah. So there are companies you can hire to do that. You get bigger. So there are ways to grow and not go mad.
So, what type of preparations do you need to make in advance of launching your project, like marketing, any of the little things that you need to have in advance before you go, yep, I'm pulling the trigger?
Let me speak on this, because I think this is where I made a mistake, and I've shared this with Jason. I think people come to Kickstarters with several different philosophies. Some come to make money. That's great. Perfect. Some come to just fund their costing, and then some come to get the funding for their costs. I didn't have the cover ready. I didn't have any of that ready. It was like probably a 9 to 10 month wait before I did my fulfillment. If I had to do it over again, I would have had a full product ready to go. I would have had the cover done, and I would have been ready to fulfill it within probably a month or two of the Kickstarter wrapping up. That's what I would do differently. So, for me, I think that was a key element and mistake I made, and I think I figured that out probably about halfway through the campaign. I'm very satisfied with the way my campaign went. Um, I got it done, but I feel like that was probably the biggest mistake I made, was not having a full product viewable with the cover and everything for people to come and see whenever they. Now, a lot of people know the series; they knew the series, and so I had that history of delivering series. So I don't think for the people that backed me there was a problem with that. Yeah, thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. A little plug right there. Book one is actually free today on all ebook platforms. I'm
So
gonna give my.
if you're
I got.
listening on January 27th,
That's
2024.
right. I have my book bub deal happening right now, so
Cool.
I'm very happy about that. But I think for me, I would have had a full product ready to deliver and viewable. So I think that's probably one of the preparation things, and then earn your money back on the back end, because if Kickstarter's taught me anything, you're gonna make your money back and refund yourself. So that's my suggestion. I'd like to hear what everybody else has to say.
Would you repeat the question?
What type of preparation or marketing do you think you should have in advance of launching your project?
Okay. So for me, it's really important, as he was saying, to have a book cover. My book might not be printed right now. My book's not printed for my next campaign. To have your covers, to have your graphics. I'm continually making new graphics. But the thing that I'm aiming for this time is to get X number of followers.
Mm.
I launched first time with 44 followers, the second time with 100 and I'm going to guess 10 followers. Right now I'm up to 166 and I want 200 to 300 because I've seen that people that have that many do much better on their campaign. So I'm more than willing to wait and launch my I'm sorry, my allergies. I have a cat. I'm
I think we
allergic to
all
a cat. So I'm more than willing to wait to launch until I have everything in place. And I'm trying to get more bells and whistles than I've done before. And I've noticed I've gotten more followers since I mentioned those, but I want to try and do double-sided dust jacket, which I've never done it, but I found a place that will do them, but it'll be limited. So it'll be like a collector's edition cover. The top cover will have foil, the bottom cover will have an illustration. That's usually what people do, just an illustration that goes the full dust jacket. I was going to do a dragon, but then I thought, I think more people that are reading my books like romance than dragons. I don't know, maybe I'll have a dragon too. But depends on if it's men or women.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to give away secrets in my story. I can't tell everybody everything with the first book. But yeah, I think men like dragons, women like romance. So I'll try to find a balance. But anyway, for me, I try to have graphics. I'm sure on social media. Oh, one thing I forgot. No one has mentioned this. One thing that's very popular in the Kickstarter community is what we call backer shares. And you swap them, backer swaps. It's a tricky phrase, and if you don't know what it means, it's hard to understand. Okay, deep breath. When I am running a campaign, I have got a captured audience. I have got my followers. I have got my people that are following my campaign. They can read my backer updates, and I've got the people who have invested in my campaign. When I send out an update, that's called a backer update. But you can go to one of the different groups or with your friends and say, I'll do a swap with you. You put my campaign in your backer update. I'll put your campaign in mine. And you do a little graphic and a link down at the bottom. And I have had people share my campaign and I've gotten really good results. I've had people get good results when I share them. But it's like a newsletter swap specific to Kickstarter.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can do a lot, you can do a little, but you're going to get out what you put into it. So JJ ran his last year, and we were at a authors conference in July, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to shoot for this. And then, I mean, Merrie does great graphics. It really catches your eye. And
Yes.
I can't stress how important graphics are for the Kickstarter community. It just really needs to be able to catch people's eyes and things.
Mhm.
And Merrie and I have interacted before, been Facebook friends and things. So, I backed her. I followed her campaign before, and then I backed it. And and then there's a Facebook group called Kickstarters for Authors, and Merrie and I are in there, and that's gold. I mean, those guys,
Isn't it?
such a help. Yeah, such a helpful
There's so
community.
many times to get discouraged, and those people are just like, you can do it. Oh, I love it.
And there's lots of advice in there, so you can go and search for things, and then if you can't find it, then you can ask and whatnot. But I realized, I mean, I was going to run it, and I'm like, I'm not ready to run it. And then my cover got delayed a bit, and which all worked out. And then there's times to run a Kickstarter. Like by the time I got the cover, it's like, it's holiday season between Thanksgiving and December. Maybe not a great time to do it because people aren't focused on finding fun things on Kickstarter. They're buying Christmas presents and other things. And you think, well, this could be a good Christmas present, but you're not going to be able to fulfill it before Christmas. So I started running mine mid-January, and there's chatter about when to run, optimal times and things. But the work we had, we all had to put in was, you have to build graphics and banners to advertise it. You have to, you kind of do what's called a story in Kickstarter. So you're telling who you are, why you have something of value, and why people should back you. You're setting up your reward tiers. And then there's details that drive you crazy. I mean, you look at shipping and going, how am I going to get this stuff all over the world? I wasn't going to do international shipping. And then they're like, don't lose money, do international shipping. And then, but
I've
thankfully,
lost money doing international shipping on previous projects when I was
Pirate Ship.
Yeah,
Pirate Ship is the
Pirate
website
Ship.
to go to. I haven't done that part yet, but man, when I found their international deals, I'm like, oh, this is so much easier.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to, generally people expect you're going to have different tiers. So like you can have $1. Thank you. Like, hey, if you give me $1, I'll put you in the acknowledgements. If my ebook is for $5 of book one, my trilogy on ebook is $15, and you start moving on. And then once you hit your goal, then you have stretch goals. It's like, okay, now we're going to try to go farther, and you save special things for that. So I've got like my book has 4 teens that get superpowers, and I commissioned art of the 2 main ones, and they're going to be used for character cards and some fun things. One of the stretch goals is, hey, let's unlock this level and get the other 2 main ones, and I'll commission that artist to go do it. I've got a short story that I've written. That's one of the rewards that we're about. We're close to unlocking. There's bookmarks and some other swag and things. So, yeah, you kind of want to encourage people to keep going, and see how things go. As you develop more backers, you can, like I said, start to raise your goal higher because you can have the expectation of hitting it. But the pretty common sense, the consensus right now is kind of starting at 500 if this is your first couple times doing it. And I have seen friends have a Kickstarter that failed, and they had good graphics and things, and I think they may have asked for too much, or it was bad timing to launch. So things do happen, and you're not guaranteed to get it. I don't want to paint this too rosy of a picture. You kind of do have to have your ducks in a row. But there's books out there now to help you design a good Kickstarter. Publicity. I mean, authors generally, a lot of us, we want to write our stories, and we don't want to have to always sell ourselves. I mean, guess what? You have to sell yourself on Kickstarter. But I finally got to the point where I'm like, I have put work into these. I know that the stories entertain a lot of people. They're not for everybody, but I know the work I put in, and there's value there. And so, yes, I'd like to see some return on what I've done. and willing to sell it and talk about it more than I have. I'm still not great, but I'm doing better.
One thing I like about the Kickstarter platform, and if you read all of their rules and what they believe in and stuff, they are fond of and they encourage award-winning books, which in the general market, nobody cares. Nobody cares that you wrote a good book. They just care like, how many reviews did you get, or how many sales did you get? Are there steamy scenes? Can we have a steamy scene? Kickstarter likes the award-winning novels, so your book having that Rome Award on the cover is pretty cool. I'm hoping that Project We Love.
I did not get a Project We Love, so that's something we should.
You know what? Go ahead.
Oh, so if you fund Kickstarter will give you some graphics you can use to say, hey, I just funded, or I funded in 1 hour or something, so you can kind of sell it. And then sometimes they'll pick a project we love, and so they'll give you a little seal on your banner on the Kickstarter site, and they give you a little more visibility with some of their links and things. So that's something you kind of, it's nice to hit, but I didn't get it. You got it for
really
Fathom,
help.
didn't you? Didn't you get it for Fathom?
I got them for both of them, but
Good.
it's most people say they don't help sales. I just like to get as much of the goals as I can.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit competitive that way. I'm like, I want that goal. I want that goal. Well, if I don't make $1 million, I at least want a project we love. But it's not. Yeah, it's not based on a sales number. That it's the people that run Kickstarter choose those. So whatever reason, it's tricky.
Yeah.
I've seen people get Project We Love before they launched, so it's really strange.
Huh. Yeah.
I know. Well, they usually have a lot of followers. Some people have 1,000, 2,000 followers before they launch.
Yeah, and it's important to know that Kickstarter's making money off these too, so they're going to pick the ones they feel like can bring in revenue as well. They're a business. I'd still rather sell on Kickstarter than sell on other platforms, but I mean, for the most part, they're going to pick those. Either you can do all the work. I've talked to people who have done got the backer or Kickstarter we love, and the same thing. They say, I don't know if it helped. I might get 1 or 2, but I mean, I don't think you shoot for that goal. I mean, obviously, if you get it, it's a great perk. It's like BookBub. If you get it, great. If you don't, you try again later. But for the most part, you keep it focused on selling to your fans and getting as many of those backers as possible and building those backers over time. So
I think getting featured on one of their front pages is better at getting followers than like getting it's not Project We Love, it's something else. But if you get featured on one of their front pages, I've gotten more followers for things like that. If I was in a category they were featuring, and it's like, the thing that happened to me with my last campaign was I stumbled on a pack of super backers, and it was from probably doing backer swaps, and the super backers were great. They're super sweet. They're really interested. I started asking them, backers, would you rather have this or this? And it's really fun to have them interact. And they requested a change on one of my covers, and I was like, okay, this is Kickstarter and you're helping me to launch my book, so I'll make that change. So I like that they're interactive.
Very nice.
And there's there's a couple terms, just real quick. There's a couple terms we've used: followers and backers. So people can start following your campaign, and ideally you want to have your campaign up so you can build followers. Like Merrie, she wants to hit a certain goal of followers, so she's got her campaign up, but it might not be till September that she launches. And then backers are the people that actually pledged. Yeah, that they've pledged. The backers are the people that pledged money. So right now in my campaign, I've got 47 backers. They've said, okay, we're going to give you money for one of your reward tiers. I've got 60 followers. So, and a typical thing that happens is when you launch, you get a bunch of people back you. And that's why we can all say, hey, we hit that first day. We funded pretty quick. And, the first 2 3 days you get funding, and now I'm in the dead zone. It's just that kind of, it just is quiet.
Mhm.
I'm running it for 2 weeks. You can run it for different lengths of time, and then right at the end, you tend to get a flurry because people said, "Oh, this one's funded." I was watching it by following it, and now
Mhm.
you tend to hit a boost at the end, and so it's this kind of funny little um, train or roller coaster that you're on, and yeah, I think I would have been hitting more if I'd had covers for the other 2 books. I mean, I was able to get the first one done, and it really captures the genre, but um, oh well, I didn't have them in time. That's why I'm using the money to fund it. I live and learn.
Mhm.
There you go.
And by the
So,
way, Kickstarter in general sends out, you might not even know about it, but they send out emails, maybe more than one in the last 24 hours, to people who have probably been following your campaign. So I'll get emails all the time. Oh, there's only this many hours left. And then they'll go, you haven't, you haven't back. There's
Yeah.
only this many. So you don't have to do anything for that. You do want to have something when they come to your page that might then want to, oh, I do want to get this. So
Mhm.
so I was gonna say, JJ, you had mentioned that Kickstarter is kind of the new thing. Is there any time that, or any situation that you wouldn't recommend using Kickstarter? Any of you?
Oh, that's a tough one because you don't. Um, I think one of the most important things about Kickstarter or doing any sort of crowdfunding is doing everything you can to bring your people to the project to help you fund it, and bring and help you fund it in the beginning so you get funded. Um, I think that obviously if it's kind of like indie publishing, not everybody can successfully indie publish. There's some people that can do it really really well, and then there's some people that they get maybe less than 50 cells. Um, and that's not to say that it's one of those things where it's just like publishing's hard, and running a campaign is hard. It takes work. And I'm not saying you have to be an entrepreneur or anything like that, but you need to know, you need to set your expectations and know that this is going to be some work. And this is where, we always have the creative mindset of writing the book, getting the cover out, doing our book launch, doing our, cover reveals and things like that. This does take some work, and it take yeah. It is not you
feel the
build it, they
horror.
will come. You will be surprised though how many people will back you that you didn't expect to back you though, however. And that will
People,
always, people will just, I had one author just no rewards or nothing, just $100. Here you go. And I'm like, you didn't sign up for a word. It was just a donation. And so you will get those from time to time.
Mhm.
When you're going to ship everything, you start seeing your shipping costs go up. Yeah, that actually ends up being a blessing in disguise, because that helps offset anything that any expense you may have forgotten about inadvertently. But I don't know if there's any time I would tell somebody not to do it unless
Hmm.
they don't want to put the work into it.
I have an answer.
Go ahead.
Um, I would not recommend Kickstarter for someone who isn't finished with their book. If your
Yes.
book isn't
Okay.
finished, don't say, I'm going to write it, it'll be done by X and X. I don't even really like that the book hasn't been edited yet.
Mhm.
To me, that's, when is it going to be done? I'm trying to edit my book before my campaign, and it's taken me forever. So there is no way that book is going up for sale until I've got my edits and hopefully have a proof book. But I would not recommend that. Another one is if you don't have your cover. People
Yeah.
need to catch the dream. You don't have to have everything perfect, but give us a cover, show us the cover. I know it's an investment, but
Yeah.
is if this is your dream, then you better show me that part of the dream. If you were going to walk into a business and do a business proposition or proposal, you would have graphics, and you would, like, if you wanted to get someone to build a building, you would have a drawing in that building and it would look real. It would look like, wow, I could move in there, or I could, do business there. So you have to sell the sizzle. Yeah, it is very visual. And you have to sell the sizzle. You have to sell the book that isn't even really here yet. You may have a proof book, and a couple of authors I know usually do their proof books before the campaign starts. I love that. I want that. I haven't been able to do that yet. I've gotten them in the midst of the campaign. Yeah.
And
you
you're
know,
going to have
No
to
campaign. Yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
you're going to have to invest in the cover too. You can't go to one of these sites where you get a $50 cover. That somebody who's just learning how to use Photoshop has, done copy and paste, elements and things. I mean, people, they're, like I said before, it's really visual, so they expect things. And, you can make it simpler. There are campaigns. Merrie kind of mentioned these things that are these perks. You'll get hardback with dust covers, and they'll get painted edges and gilded, all these things. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what is up with all of this? It doesn't have to be that complicated.
Yeah.
There's some people that really want lots of pretty and frillian things. That seems to do well, but if you do digital rewards and things, I remember Merrie on one of hers did line art of she had these great images, so she had line art. So here's the digital coloring page. So it doesn't really cost her anything to offer that. There's no shipping costs or printing costs.
Right.
But here's a reward and something simple that people can take advantage of. So yeah, there's different things. I wish the character art I'd commissioned, if I'd gotten a black and white version so I could offer that as a coloring thing. I didn't do it, and next time I would.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads us right into one of our next questions. What kind of rewards do you think are great things to have with your Kickstarter? What do you think you would avoid in the future?
I
Um,
don't
Go
love
ahead.
things that I have to mail. So, as my little arthritic hands freeze up after I've done, 10, and I'm like, I have hundreds, not hundreds, but like hundreds. So all the stuffing in an envelope and all the stuff that you have to do for the small rewards, which I love to give people things. I like them to be part of it, but it kills my body. So the print rewards are hard for me, and I'm trying to cut back on those. And your question again, because I know I had another.
What do you think are successful? What ones do you want to avoid? So
Okay. Successful for me is POD. So I just make the book, it ships directly from the printer. I don't have to touch the book. That makes my life happy. The last time I did what you were discussing, I did an exclusive book box. And like I said, I had stumbled on some super backers and they love it. It's like subscription box, like Fake Rate or Owl Crate or something like that. It's not on the same level because as indie authors, we can't afford to do 500 of these, which brings costs down. But I did hardback with sprayed edges, and then I had stickers and a bunch of different extra things that went in there. And that book box did really well, meaning I only sold 10 of them. They were $150 each. So it was a good earner for the amount of work that I put into it. Now, my next campaign, I've got dragons versus thunderers, so like a thunder god versus dragons. I'm going to do Team Dragon and Team Thunderer. I'm going to have coffee. I'm going to have tea. I'm going to do some different exclusive boxes. And if I only sell 5, but they cost between $100 and $200, it's worth the effort in putting it together.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree. I like the digital rewards. So I think all of my, you have your regular rewards and then you have your stretch goals. And all my stretch goals, I made every one of those a digital reward. And what that did is I think I did the Iggy and I short stories. I think there was like 12 of them, and most of them were around 2,000 a piece, and they had all been written already. But that also gives me another book to launch later in the year. A collection of Iggy and Oz short stories. I can just everything's ready to go. But I like the digital rewards. One thing I liked about the fulfillments was being able to use it as my marketing. So doing, a time lapse of me signing all the books and stuff like that and putting it up on Instagram, which is where I'm primarily at. You can use this to actually, market. And I think that helped me when I launched the book, later on. But I will tell you this. I fulfilled all those in December, and it was exhausting.
Yeah,
I
me
mean, it
too. I
really,
fulfilled in December. It was hard.
and it's like it's fun taking a big laundry basket full of books down to the post office to drop off, but it's a lot of work getting them bagged up and heading out, and and just getting, and then trying to put it together so it looks nice, and wrap it in tissue paper and all that stuff. And it was me and my wife in there for probably 4 or 5 hours just one night, saying, okay, we got to knock it out.
Wow.
And it's, like I said, it's work, and it's the business side of work. And it's not like you're Brandon Sanderson and have 50 people that you employ to be able to do all your fulfillments. I mean, this is work.
It's
And
back-breaking work for me. Now I have a question for the guys. Have either of you used Pirate Ship yet?
yeah, we use it. I use
You
it.
use it?
My wife has account with them, so.
Yeah, so I used Pirate Ship, and the cost was great. I put my labels together. I had a variety of different things that I sent out to my backers. But when I went to the post office with my boxes, they wouldn't take them. I had to just put them in a bin. Their bin was so. I'm in Southern California. There are some big cities here. But anyway, they said, no, we're not going to log those in, but you can put them in the bin. The bin looked like, it was huge. And you're so careful with your boxes, and everything in there is packed. And then I had to put my babies in this bin. And I'm like, and they're all crooked and just hanging on for dear life. And I'm like, I hope they make it there. I was not a fan of the way the post office treated ship materials. And I did go to USPS too, because we have UPS, we have USPS. So I went to USPS. There's one of those close to me with some smaller things. They at least put them all into a small, container, but they said they were going to have to take it to UPS. And I thought, that's just going to get dumped into one of their dumpsters. So it's an advantage to living in a smaller town, I guess, if you guys aren't in a metropolitan area.
I used to work for UPS, and that's just how they get handled, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's sad because you work so hard, and then it's like, throw it in the bin. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there's, a little something on the side there is just some hidden costs that you have to plan for, like mailers. You have to have shipping containers and things, and think through that, and kind of incorporating that in your costs. So a lot of people can lose money on shipping if they don't plan for mailers and the postage and things like that. So you have to do your research ahead of time. I mean, I'm still in the middle of my campaign, so I haven't had to deal with fulfillment, but like the art that I've showed, I commissioned. So I've got this sticker I'm holding up in the video, some of the comic book art that I've done. And there's some companies you can find online that'll, give you deals on ordering stickers and things. So I got 50 of these stickers for $30.
That's my first campaign.
There you go. Just a nice find.
My desk is messy.
Sticker mule.
This is my second campaign.
So they get it.
So
that's
just because I have a messy desk.
Some nice vinyl stickers that not only will I have for the campaign, but for other things going forward. And if you do, digital rewards, all you have to have is an account like with BookFunnel or something like that to get them out there to people. But if you have, and if you have these paper small thin rewards, you can probably stick them like a bookmark or sticker, you can stick them in the book, and you could probably get away with medium mail. But if you have anything bigger, you can't do medium mail, which is the cheaper way to ship it out. So then you have to bump up to something higher. Like JJ did some candles for his campaign, fun little candles, because his wife has a candle making business. And so then he had to do his boxes for those. So yeah, there's different things you can use, and there's pluses and minuses to them.
Okay.
But do what, don't drive yourself crazy if you don't want to go into all the, if you look at Kickstarter and start following some campaigns, and that's really what you need to do is, if you're thinking about it, get on Kickstarter, look at campaigns, look at books that are going to be similar to what yours might be. And please come and check out all 3 of ours. And, so you can see what goes on, back a few of them. So, even if you just back like a cheap ebook level or something, so you can see, now you're seeing people do backer updates and do these things we've talked about, how it goes, and then you get a feel for it.
Yeah, I think it's good to back a few campaigns and purchase things to see how they, backed like the print rewards, so that you get to see how I got to see how the bookmarks or the various print things came packaged. I've backed the fancy books, and I get to see how they're done. I'm actually much more inclined now to buy a hardback than I was before, anywhere online, anywhere in person, because I always wanted to have a hardback of my own, and now I do, and now I can see more of a value in it. I read, they're nice, but I read digital just because of my eyesight, so I can enlarge it. But the hardbacks, they're like artwork. They're gorgeous.
Exactly.
Get some like with the foil on them and stuff. I only hardbacks on my I have one small bookcase because we have such a small house, but I've only put my fancy hardbacks on there, and I feel like I'm collecting art, a new form of artwork. So
and on that real quick, and Jason's heard me preach about this about 100 times, so he's probably tired of hearing it. There's something satisfying about selling directly to your fans,
yes.
and being able to completely cut everybody else out of the picture. I mean, we all depend on Amazon, and yes, Amazon has given indie authors a platform that most they didn't have before. However, there's something satisfying about being able to cut them out of the picture.
I'm
And
not using them very much at all anymore.
and it's one of those things, like, selling direct really seems to be the future of publishing, and being able to bundle your stuff together for somebody, whether it's an audiobook or an ebook, where they could get all 3 for a decent deal,
Right.
is exciting, because I'm like you, I like to read on my Kindle. And so when I did, Sanderson's thing, I got the one where I could get both the book and the ebook, and I did the add-ons and things like that, so I could get that deal, because I want to be able to just put the book on my shelf and let it sit there and be pretty, but I want to read on my e-reading device. And I think the way people collect books and read books has changed so much that some people are so willing to do that just to be able to get that deal.
Yeah. I agree.
And I'm going to totally double back on something that Merrie has said, and I'm like, oh, Merrie's having, I think we all used POD, the print on demand type of functions. Merrie had them shipped directly from the printer to the backer. She didn't have to touch those books.
Right.
I've done it where I'm going to order the books, have them sent to me so I can sign them. That's an extra cost. And it's a value I wanted to do since my first Kickstarter and redoing this series. I felt like, okay, that's important. But that's getting them shipped here and then shipping them back out. That's kind of a double shipping cost that I'm incurring. So you can do it a couple different ways. And something you can do if you want to offer signatures is do a book plates.
That's what I'm going to do next time.
Yeah, and that's JJ. That's what we should do for a crossover. And then you can have something signed or something printed up and send it a little sticker out that's pretty cheap,
Yeah.
but the book goes directly to the reader.
Right.
Yeah, if you
Mhm.
guys come up with a book plate, let me know what you pick because I've been trying to figure out what to use, but I want to do that.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that would be the hard thing is like, if you're co-writing a book with somebody and they live across country, I'd have to sign the books, ship them to
yes,
Steve. He'd have to
yes,
sign them, ship them to Idaho,
yeah,
and then we'd have. It's just like by that time the book's all beat up, anyways.
Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah,
Whereas,
it is.
when Josh
Oh,
and I actually launch our book, we live in the same house, so it's
Yeah,
easy
Yep.
to find both of
but
them.
yeah, if you live close to someone, you can do it, but otherwise, it's just madness.
That's the only other way to do it.
yeah.
Yeah, really.
So, uh, Aaron, do you want to take the last question? Oh yeah.
Wind us up and let us go.
No, no, no. Aaron,
No,
Aaron,
no, no,
wrong
no.
question.
Mhm.
Number 4.
We were
Yeah, we
hopping
kind of
around.
hopped around.
Mm.
Real quick, that it's not like selling on Amazon because I wrote down my answer. It's not like selling on Amazon. You don't have to discount your book.
All right.
The backers on Kickstarter want value. They want a good book and they perceive value as costing something. So you charge a decent price for your book. It is not a bargain basement. It's not the way we've been taught how to do launch. Like I
All right.
never made no, every single digital book that I sell and digital, you make more on your digitals. Five
Oh yeah.
bucks. I don't, and people load up the cart. I'm like, really? You bought every single book? And then I
Yeah.
think, well, they won't come back, but then they come back next time, and I'm like, I don't have any more books. But so don't think that you have to discounts. That's not what it's about. You can give them extra things, value, like I have a cookbook that I'm going to have. My next book takes place in the Appalachian Mountains. It's fantasy, but it takes place in the Appalachian Mountains. And so I have a scene where everybody has a little bit of a party in the middle of the book and they eat Southern food. And so I have a Southern cookbook that I put together. It's a PDF. It
Nice.
has, recipes, it has pictures of the food, but it's a freebie. But I'm going to give it away in a way to encourage more people to back the campaign. So free things that have value you can give away. But your book is not free. Your book is a good
Mhm.
Yeah.
product.
Right. And to build off of that, you know, you need to be somebody that delivers. Um, you don't want to develop a reputation because they are coming and they understand value, and these aren't discounted shoppers. These are shoppers that want to support you. So therefore, you need to put effort into actually delivering a
Mhm.
good product. And like I said, like she said, it's switching your mindset on marketing. You're not marketing to the freebies. I got a book club going on right now. That's for bargain shoppers at the moment.
Yeah.
Kickstarter is not for bargain shoppers. And so therefore you need to be able to deliver on your promise
Mhm.
and follow through it because you don't want to develop. And that was probably the biggest lesson I learned, and which is why I put so much energy trying to get the fulfillment done a good decent way. So yeah, put effort into it. I keep coming back to this. It is work, but it is rewarding work if you do it the right way.
Mhm.
And then, I was going to say, it's financially it's different for the author because, you know, I was with a small press before, so the book gets released, and then there's, they, you get quarterly payouts and you get quarterly numbers. So I never, do you see your numbers? Some places you struggle to see your numbers, and you have to wait for payment. Because I haven't self-published yet, so I don't know how Amazon works, but I don't, you know, I mean, I've put this work together, I've run the Kickstarter. 2 weeks after the Kickstarter ends, I get the money. And then, so you're going to get paid. it's with publishing, it just always feels like you put on all this work and you get, fractions of pennies to the dollar, and especially in hours that you put in. But here it feels like, you're getting a tangible reward for the work you put in. Okay, I've done this work. Here's the money. It comes to me now. I mean, you've got to fulfill, like JJ said, you've got to fulfill well, but it's like, okay, you actually have that tangible reward, and it's not going to be down the road for royalties or anything like that.
It's a more exclusive experience. So if you're a reader and you've ever wanted to connect with an author, maybe you haven't even met this author, but this book sounds good, you heard about it, you're going to get more from the author than you would get if you went to a retail store, because authors make a or to give extra things, maybe an extra map or an extra, I tend to do a 2-page spread of character cards. So when you open up the book, you can see images of the characters right there. You don't have to go, well, I wonder who would person is she's talking about.
No.
You can put extra things in the book. You can add extra things to the campaign. My next campaign, I want to have an audiobook. I've wanted to have one for a while, but this is the first one I think I'm actually going to have ready in time. So I don't have a way to sell that on retail. It's not through Audible. It's not through Findaway Voices, or whatever that one is. It's not through either one of those. So this might be the only place people are going to be able to find these things. Oh, and I wanted to mention one more thing, because I just found out about it today, and you guys might already know about it. It's not brand new. It's been out for at least a year. But there's an app. It's a crowdfunding app that interfaces with Shopify. Those of you who have had a campaign, you know about BackerKit and Pledge Manager. There are different pledge, different services that help you with your fulfillment. BackerKit is one, Pledge Manager is another one. They're hard to set up, but this one is an app that interfaces with Starter and your online store of Shopify.
Oh,
And so it takes all, it's cool. It takes all of those people into your store. You drop a pledge, because my last campaign had 17 backers that they're, for whatever reason, their funding didn't go through. We had to work hard to get that to straighten out. Would have been much easier this way. And through the store, we would have been able to say, do you have another, what about PayPal? Or what about this? Or what about that? It's real easy. So they now know about your store.
Yeah.
So it's, you're taking those people and making them into future customers. So
And
I
what's
just
that?
wanted to share that.
What's that app called?
I know. Wouldn't it be nice if I had written down the name? I didn't know I was going to talk about it, but you're going to have links. Did you say you're going to have links down below?
Yeah,
or
we'll have some
something?
links.
I can give you a link to that, and also
Okay.
maybe a link to
Okay.
my next campaign.
yes.
If you guys have links to your Kickstarters as well as your websites, now would be the time to actually let us know what those are. I'm assuming you have a profile page as an individual for the Kickstarter. I've not set one up, so I have no idea.
Yeah, so you can search on Kickstarter for Merrie Destefano, Jason C. Joyner, JJ Johnson will all show up. Even the old ones, even the ones that they've already run will show up.
That's true.
Where
with mine, you can
so
just type in my first name, Merrie. It's that easy.
Yeah.
You'll find my stuff.
So again, mine's the one that's running right now, so encourage you to jump over. And yeah, just as doing this, it's exclusive, but there's also value there. I mean, because you can find these deals where people are offering certain things for if you're, for me, I've always wanted to get some character art of my characters. Since they're superheroes, it just kind of made sense. if I can find a comic book artist, but it felt like a splurge. It felt like it was too indulgent for me to do that on my own. It's like, well, spend that money. But since I can get this art done and now I can offer it to readers and say, hey, look, shiny, fun things for you guys. Now it's a justification. I can do that and offer it out to people. And it's fun to see the reaction that I've gotten when I, sharing the art around. So it's fun for the authors to be able to say, here's some extra fun things, that you can't do. I mean, when I was at the small publisher, they controlled marketing. So it's, can we go do this? No, we don't have the money for that. Okay. And if I had there's, I have control now. I can do what I want. And that's huge, is I have the freedom to do it.
Right. Yeah. What you touched on right there. Normally, reader would only be able to get the extra things we have if they saw us at a convention or conference, because we don't have access to them. We don't have their mailing, addresses, but with Kickstarter, we do.
Yeah. I think when we're thinking in terms of marketing and why a reader would back a book or a product, any product on Kickstarter, one of the things I think is changing in author marketing is just this authenticity, this just craving for authenticity, just this craving for connection with somebody that's actually real. And I think AI is pushing that, because so many people are starting to realize there's a lot of fake stuff out there. And I think just the ability to connect one-on-one with an author, even if that author isn't like, a major bestseller, is something that some people want, because I think what we fight against is this idea of loneliness in society, where people, they want to feel connected, but they feel alone, and their fandoms, there's so much division going on that people want to feel connected to something. And Kickstarter provides that opportunity for an author and a reader to be able to just connect where normally they wouldn't be able to. You're getting the perks, you're getting the things that you don't normally get unless you go to a convention to see the author, or you go to a book signing. And sometimes even if you go to a book signing in Barnes and Noble, I've been to a couple, and it's just like, okay, line up, sign your books, and that's it. Maybe a little bit of a Q&A. There's not time to get all the extra perks and stuff like that, because the author's flying in. They can't carry that stuff with them. So you don't necessarily get all the different perks and stuff like that. Plus, look at the digital rewards. Sometimes these digital rewards, the only way you're going to get them is if you're on the Kickstarter. And so, think about that. You're going to get a lot of things. The bundling, I always say, is one of the big things, just those opportunities. But for me, it's the one-on-one connection that you can have with an author. And guess what? Us authors, we remember the people who give us that one-on-one connection. We remember the people who come to and always are commenting or sending us messages like that. We crave that connection just as much as the reader craves that connection.
Yep.
And I can tell you right now, every person that follows me on social media that's always commenting, always liking, always sending a direct message, always responding my stories, I guess what? There's some of the ones that I follow on social media too. And they may only have like, a couple hundred followers, but I'm over there seeing what they're up to, because it's this one-on-one connection. So for me, I think Kickstarter provides the opportunity to take that connection with an author and with a fan, in a different way. And I think that's important for our industry moving forward.
All right, JJ, get all
the app
philosophical.
that I mentioned, this is going to be backwards, I think, but it's Crowd Control Pledge Manager. That's the app. I haven't used it, but people were saying good things about it.
Can you repeat that?
Crowd Control Pledge Manager. And it's
Okay.
just on the App Store in my
Awesome. On your phone. Okay.
there you go.
Excellent.
What
It's
is
not
this
on
thing called?
it's not on Android yet.
What do you mean? But I'm on Android phone.
Oh, you got it? That doesn't show up on
my
mine.
phone
Dang.
is Android.
Oh.
I
Oh,
am
shoot.
not fancy.
Are are you are you spelling crowd right, Jason?
Hey, now.
No, for some reason, it's in the Shopify App Store. I don't know why. So
Maybe that's.
That might be it because I'm not seeing it on on Apple either. Shopify.
which I didn't know existed. Sorry. In contrast to a regular app store.
Mhm. I mean, it looks like there's probably some other options available, like Store Connect and stuff. So I
Yeah.
don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's what's cool about this is you're starting to see indie authors have so many tools available to them
Hmm
that we
Definitely.
didn't have 10 years ago,
Or
and
even
it's
5 years
making
ago.
oh yeah, even 5 years ago, it's making our opportunities and our jobs a lot easier
Hmm
to be able to do some of these things. So
hmm
Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. So why don't we go around real quick? You guys let us know where your websites are, and we'll get out of here.
uh,
Go ahead.
okay. JJ Johnson, right? jjjohnsonwrites.com is my website. I am the most active probably on Facebook and Instagram just because that's where my audience, the gatekeepers to my audience, are at. So I'm there on both those locations. Instagram JJ Johnson_author, and if you follow, I think it's just JJ Johnson author on Facebook.
For mine, if you can spell my name, you can find me almost anywhere. So, Merrie Destefano, MERRIEDES like Sam, TEF like Frank, ANO. MerrieDestefano.com is my website. If you do at Merrie Destefano on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, which is now called X, but my name, you can find me. On Kickstarter, like I said, if you just type in my first name in their search bar, you can find my campaigns, even the ones that haven't launched yet.
Yep.
I don't find
And
your
I'm
name hard to spell, but I've known you for a while, so
mine is Jason C. Joyner. Yeah, I have the C in there to differentiate from if you Google Jason Joyner and find the one that's in jail. So so it's
Got out.
jasoncjoyner.com, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I don't do X. Jason C. Joyner.
Eventually.
And if you are watching on Twitch or YouTube, we are having a little hiccup on the podcast feed. So we are going to get that corrected and get that back live, hopefully in the next few weeks. So we'll get that updated. We've got a few back episodes as well, plus this one. So we will get that out soon. Otherwise, thank you guys so much
Yeah.
for spending the last hour, nearly hour and a half with us. So
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
inviting me.
Yeah,
Yes, thanks for having us. Fun
thank
to
you.
talk about.
yeah, lots to talk about. So, well, you guys have a great afternoon, and thank you again for hanging out with us. So,
Yeah.
do we have anybody in the queue, Josh?
We are in talks to have Jean Rabe on. A little bit different fare than our usual. She has done some fantasy novels. Excuse the train in the background. Um, she's done some fantasy novels in the Forgotten Realms. She's also writing the Piper Blackwell mystery series taking place in Indiana about a young sheriff who encounters some interesting things. So look to
That's
have
good.
that. What was that?
Sounds good. What
Oh
kind
Yeah.
of
yeah.
a book?
So look to have Jean Rabe on in the next few weeks. Yeah, we're going to have Morgan Bussey on, and she'll be talking about her new Viking novel.
I didn't even
So,
get a chance to say mine's a Viking novel. Just talked about Kickstarter.
Well,
sorry.
that might be a perk for a lot of people.
I don't even talk about what is the book about?
So,
Well,
thanks
we will
again.
catch everybody next time. Just check our social media for updates on those dates. They will be upcoming once they are firmed up. So just look for that. Otherwise, thanks everybody for hanging out with us, and we will catch you next time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh,
Bye.
Okay.
Outro.
Bye.